All right, ready? There we go.
Alright, so organic. So looking at today's agenda, and so we have one of our data analysis of today to see how we perform in regards to the how we perform in regards to the benchmark 4 assessment. We're going to look at data analysis. We're going to look at the trends we see from benchmark 4 to the TN rating assessment data in regards to the standards to see if any of those standards are improving or some have decreased in those areas since then and so forth. And we're going to discuss AMO. Okay? And so first thing that we're going to do is open up with a team builder and a perfect practice activity. So I want to make sure before we get into that we are adhering to the norms. And so the main norm we want to focus on today is going to be authentic feedback. That's one of the ones that I've been focusing on for the entire school year. And I think that's just going to be a group norm that we're going to look at today. Receive it. The learning orientation, just make sure we all try to get better. And the feedback that you have to be, please let me know so we can make this thing go back to back to 5, okay? So the first thing is that I'm going to kind of put Miss Hammond on the spot, but it's not really on the spot because she got this. But when we were in, we visited Miss Hammond's class on, I think it was Monday, me and Dr. Rogers, and we sat in on her lesson. Really good things she said about some things she was doing in her lesson, which was dealing with area, correct? And so there was one problem that had, I think it was 2 figures, and you were trying to show them how to separate the break apart or not. Could you just show us there real quick on the board? Yeah, you can draw on the board and just give them an example. We want to do it on a smart board. We can, yeah. Make sure it's right. There we go. Doing an amazing job.
Thank you. Okay, so you want me to show you the
You just presented to us like you did the students.
Okay, well, the break apart strategy is when you can take 2 different shapes and write an equation to figure it out, find the area of both shapes, and then add them up. So what I showed the students was where to break it up, off, and I used a different color marker to show them where they can break apart the 2 shapes, and then we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then I asked them about do they see the other shape and about the other shape, and they saw the square. So if you see a rectangle, you see a square, and then they counted 1, 2, 1, 2, and we made an expression 4 times 2, and then we did 2 times 2. They gave the answer. 8 and 4, and then asked them what do you think you do with your products? And they said add the products. So we said 8 plus 4 is 12. And that's how I did it. I could have done it another way. And after the conversation, I saw that I could have placed something over one of them to show them to do the 2 separate shapes to make sure they see.
So using that part, now I really want to speak to this because this is one thing that we saw, and when we were in there, just knowing that the student misconceptions that could arise from not having an actual sheet. Some students can understand it just like that. Then you have some students who need to understand, okay, what are the two shapes you're referring to? Am I counting everything, and I'm trying to figure out 4 times 2 times 2 times 2, and a lot of confusions and misconceptions can happen that way. And when we said, and when she said what she could have done, just looking at how those things can be brought up in this particular space, and that's why we want to use this particular space of perfect practice. And I'm not trying to say that anything was wrong, because I know this was something that Ms. Hammond corrected, and she was able to provide those students with that additional support. But the whole point of perfect practice is, well, what is another way I can use this as a particular scaffold, or what can I do this to extend this particular lesson? And so it was a great lesson. Everything was everything in regards to the learning targets for that particular standard was exactly taught the way it should have been taught and the way it's going to be assessed. And so we just want to make sure always those questions, what ways can I support the students who need help, what way can I extend the lesson for those students who have actually gotten it. So we just came around the applause. That was extremely on the spot, because I didn't think that, I know she didn't know that she was going to be doing it, but it's fine though, because I believe when you're doing perfect practice, you're going to be doing something that you either already taught, or you already familiar with teaching, or something that you need to have help with teaching, and that's what we are here for. And so that was some really good feedback that we got on that lesson. All right, moving right along, this particular standard, which is, I know it's multiplication area, is it MD? It's the MD standard. And so we're going to take it back to the data, because what we always want to do is we want to tie what we're doing for perfect practice to the data. And so I'm going to give you, that's 4th grade, which she might already have hers. Third grade, here you go. And 5th grade, I have. So with that particular standard, what I wanted Ms. Hammond specifically to do was to take a look at the analysis from last year. Find that particular standard, and if 4th and 5th grade knows in which this particular standard will fall in your specific grade level, so you can find that standard just to see how we perform on this standard last year, to see if it was an area of growth or if it was an area in which we mastered on last year. 3rd grade, we read, what did we score it? 6%. So we're looking at, and this is, and this was in regards to the school, which was lower than the state, which was at 18%, and the district, which was at 12%. So this is a heavily weighted item, because it's also a measure of the grade, and we see how across the board, one question that aligns to this particular standard, that could have been the missing hang-up between why students got it and why students didn't get it. And so that's one thing that we want to make sure that we practice, that if we're seeing any time, especially with this particular document that we have, when we're using that document, seeing how that item looks on the assessment that they have for the practice assessments, and seeing how we are teaching it in a line to, am I teaching this to completely fulfill the entire classroom where all students are getting it, or am I just getting to what the majority of students I think are getting it when they assess it, some disconnection there. And so we just want to make sure we're using the data to drive these discussions, which goes to the next point. If you look at our AMOs, that's the sheet that I gave you with all of Blueberry's AMOs. AMOs, you might take a stab on what AMO stands for. I know we got so many acronyms in the district.
Measure or something.
You close?
I know, it's annual measure of something.
Yes, close. Think you know what that O stands for? Awesome.
Oh my.
That too. That O stands for outcomes. Annual measurable outcomes. Okay?
I got you out.
You did. And so if you look at where we are, this gives you an idea of where we were last year versus the ways in which we have to go this year. So if you look at the student count, and we're looking at 3rd through 5th, and we're looking at math, and we're going to look at the one that says all students. That's the very first one for math that says all students. Our student count last year Ms. Jeffries, how many students we had last year? 221. Okay. And when you look at the performance rate, these are the amount of students who score proficient or advanced according to last year's scale in a percentage wise. So out of 221 students, how many students do we have roughly performing at proficient and advanced rate? 26.7% of students. Okay? When we look at our 2018 AMO, the student count has changed. So last year we had 221 who had tested. This year we have 250. So we have 250 students. We're going to do a little math with this too. We'll do a little math. So we have 250 students, and we have a 218 AMO of what percentage? 31.3. Can we see how many students that is? If you got your phone, how many students is 31.3% of 250? That's going to tell us how many students we need in grades 3 through 5 who have to score proficient and or advanced, which is now called on track and master. 78.25 students, which means we're going to round that up to 80. So we need roughly 80 students to hit our AMO goal this year in grades 3 through 5. Does not really matter whether they are on track or master. We just need to have them in that particular area. And so looking at from a grade standpoint, what we did was we wanted to see how many students per grade, if we wanted to go across the board equally, how many students would that roughly be? And so with it being grades 3 through 5, we're talking about 80 students, that's going to be roughly 27 students per grade, which means we round up to 30. So we're looking at 30 students in grades 3, 30 students in grades 4, and 30 students in grade 5 who we need to get on track or master for the TU ready assessment for us to meet our AMO. You see another column that says double AMO. Now double AMO does not mean double the amount, because we know we're not going to be able to get, if we want to look at it from a realistic standpoint, it won't be 180 kids who would meet this particular area. But if we look at it from the double AMO, I'm not quite sure what that number is.
I know what it is. So if you go from 26.7 to 31.3, that's like 5 points. Right? Double 5 points, what, 10? So you're going from like 26.7 to like 36.7. So it's round, it's roughly a 10 point. So that's what it is.
Okay. So it means for us to hit our double AMO, we need to hit
the difference twice.
The difference twice. Right. So that'll be 90 students total, which is what we just said, 30. And so we hit 30 students in each grade, we will hit our double AMO goal for 2018. Is it something that is achievable? Yes. Is it something that is attainable? Yes. Are we being able to measure how our students are performing on benchmarks to see if we provide an accurate picture of how they could possibly perform on the assessment? That's the purpose of the benchmark analysis that we've been doing for each assessment, to see how many students that are looking to be targeted for the AMO. I'm going to give you an example. I was at the science meeting on Wednesday, and looking at 5th grade specifically, we looked at the AMO number versus how many students she had that hit on her benchmark that she took on the last assessment. So AMO for 5th grade, if I'm not mistaken, is around 50 students, if I'm not mistaken. 50 5th grade students must hit for
70% of 250.
7% of 250. I could be wrong.
It's up there on the chart.
Check my math. Check my math.
It's on the chart. I got it posted.
78. I'm sorry. This is. Oh, that's
No, I'm
math.
sorry, I'm sorry.
That's math.
70% of
It's another
72.
Okay.
It's a chart up on
But the number that she hit
Exactly.
is 50. I know I was kind of around the area.
See, I was thinking 250. You're right.
Okay. So 50 students are needed to hit science AMO. On her benchmark that she assessed on last week, she had a total of 48 students who hit their proficient advanced or on track of master level. And so if that was the real assessment, we would have been 2 points off in science from getting our AMO. So then we started talking about some of the things that we're doing in science to help enhance that number that she had proficient in advanced on track master on her benchmark. So when she gets her next one, we can hit that magic number of 50. And that's when we start talking about the corrective instruction action plans. Okay? So in regards to AMO, any question around AMO? And I do want to ask Ms. Jones, because Ms. Jones being in the kindergarten seat, and she's actually the representative for the lower grades, looking at some of the things that she's doing in regards to AMOs, and this ties back to this particular standard. And what did we talk about in our last meeting, talking about how you see what it looks like or how it's assessed in different grade levels? You remember what we talked about?
It builds.
It builds.
Like it builds per grade. Every grade adds a little bit more on.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to know how that looks in our kindergarten class? Well, we haven't got to that part yet, but when we do it's like a little thing we do with the maps, PowerPoint, and it shows us that. And when you was doing it, I was like, oh, because we don't teach it, but it exposes them to that in that PowerPoint. It shows them how to count the blocks and add it together. It don't show them how to, find the area.
There you go.
But it does show them how they need to count each of those squares to get the answer.
And that's how we check.
Which goes back to the coherence map. If we look at, that was the 3rd grade standard. And that was data, which one was it? MD. C7, I'm sorry. Right here. So we want to map this standard. And this is through the coherence map that we talked about in our previous meeting. So we want to map this all the way back to kindergarten. Okay? And we'll go forward with 4th and 5th grade. Well, you see right here, 4th grade, 4 MDA3, how you do on that in regards to the standards analysis from last year. Ms. Round, how did you do on 5 MFB.3 from last year? They all building on each other. Get right to the kindergarten. That was area of 19%, another low area below the district, below the state. That's a low area underneath 50% for the school. How we do on 5 NF? Now let's just.
I don't have all of them.
Do you have 5 NFB.4? Do you have that one?
NFB.4. That is, I can tell you, it's finding the area of using fractional amounts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have it's on here. NFB.
Yeah.
4A.
Mm-hmm.
16%, 17%, 21%.
So we're looking at, from school standpoint, this standard that Ms. Hammond presented on, we saw 6% from 3rd grade. When it builds, we see 19%, and then we see 17%. Is that where we want to go? Okay, so we know that's an area of growth that we have. And so looking at how, it's just amazing how this works, because when I look at this, it really is aligned to see how things are being taught. So I want to go back to. You got a question?
I don't have a question, but I had another thought.
Yeah.
When you was showing those shapes, we do teach how you can teach these shapes. We might not necessarily teach the area, but we do put 2 shapes together, or how you divide it into what 2 shapes can you find.
Say if you want to go forward, I have to do additive volume, where I take the volume of 2 shapes.
And
So
so
if they can't decompose the shapes.
So it actually maps back to 1st grade. So I know you all did an exposure what you said in regards to how you were doing when we were showing how to count and whatnot. But when you look at it, this goes all the way back to 1st grade. And I wish we had some 1st grade data on this standard to see what does 1.G look like, which is kind of squares. Because if we see that they're low in that area, then we see the trend is throughout the school. But we see where it starts at. So we have to have those discussions with the 1st grade teachers to see, okay, well, what is it that we're doing in this particular area where it shows an actual task, how many squares are in this picture? which is the same thing as area. It's the exact same thing. And so what is it that we're doing in regards to first grade when they're teaching this particular skill? How are you understanding that the standard is aligning and it's going above and it's going vertically up? And what are you using in regards to some of the language? I know they might not even be using the word area. That might be something that for first grade that could possibly be over their head, but them hearing the word area isn't a problem. They can hear that we're talking about area students, so when they move to 7th grade, they get to Miss Hammond class, that's one less thing Miss Hammond actually has to discuss in detail about, okay, well, let me tell you what area is. They've already been exposed to it in Miss Perkins' class, for example. Okay? And so just kind of looking at how this data works, and it's just amazing how you're seeing a lot of this stuff in the through line that you see in regards to grade levels. Going back to, all this exciting and stuff. So, I like talking like this. And so this goes back to our data from our assessment that we took on this past week. So we want to just we're going to use this to kind of map too. And I did pull your data to pull you all archives. This is Jeffries. There you go. All right. And so we can have our little data talk, or what they call these back in the day, calm stats. That's what it was back in the day. Back in the day. So feel free. We'll start right here at we'll start with Miss Randall and go ahead.
What do you want to know?
You tell me what you see and
They bombed it. I'm just gonna be honest. They bombed it. I only had 4 students score between 80 and 75, and nobody scored over 80. And 4 students who scored between 74 and 70. So I only had 8 students pass it.
Let me ask you a question. How many you have between 62 and 70?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and there were probably about 5 or 6 more that fell into that range. So, not as many as I want, but looking at the test questions and knowing where I am in the curriculum, the test was almost exclusively fractions, and we are right in the middle of a fraction unit. And so, a lot of the things that they are still processing was on the test, and so they're still in the process of, is this adding, is this subtracting, is this multiplying? They're just processing that. So even though I'm like, they bombed it, I went and I looked to see what it was they were doing wrong. And one of those things that I saw that they were doing wrong is it's what fraction of the whole, what is left. And, they did this part, and they're still having problems with the understanding that the one represents the whole. It's an example of the question would be, Stacy gave 5/18 of her stickers away to somebody, and then the next day she gave 2/18 of her stickers. What fraction of her stickers did she have left? And so they saw 5/18, 2/18, they subtracted. And then I even had kids who made tape diagrams, and they're like, okay, I need to put these 2 together because she's giving them away, but they still couldn't figure out what they were taking it away from. And it's such an abstract idea because they're so used to the idea that I have 18 stickers or I have 25 stickers, and they're still working with this concept. They're still trying to get the concept that it is they have one set of stickers, and they gave away the parts. And the kids, I had some kids get that question right, but the reason they got it right is they drew a tape diagram with 18 sections in it. And the ones who got it right were the ones who could say there were 18 sections, they gave these away, they gave these away, these are the parts that are left.
That's probably the best method for you.
And it is the best method. And so, but the ones who missed it because they saw left, they subtracted, but they just subtracted from the wrong thing.
It's a through line.
It is.
I'm going to tell you why. Because I was in Miss Jeffries' class on a couple of days ago, and I was in the first 2 blocks teaching the lesson that particular day, and they were having an issue when it came to comparing fractions. And so what they were doing was they couldn't get the concept of it was one fraction they had no 3 out of 12. And so the way he was teaching them initially, I saw where they would draw the rectangle, they would divide it up, and then draw the line across the middle. The only way they understood was when they drew 12
Yeah.
blocks,
Yeah.
and then shading in grid. And they couldn't understand the part of where that particular was 1/4. They kept thinking it was 1/3. And it was just interesting just hearing what you were saying versus hearing this that when you're talking about the actual redraw write process, the draw process in which they're doing and the one that they're understanding. I know they get the option to get however they want to work these problems out. We're just looking at it from a standpoint of what is the most efficient way that we can get them to do this in the most timeless of ways, with the understanding that this is a 55-ish minute assessment, and we have time to go through and do 18 rectangles or 18 squares. Like, we don't have time to do all this. So what are some things that we're going to put in place for them so they can do it in a more efficient way? So I kind of want to leave that to your data, Ms. Dierks, to kind of share out.
So the fraction questions that were on there, I knew that was where I figured they were going to struggle, because when we took the test, we had just started fractions and we were on the drawing the models and decomposing them. So like the question, the equivalent fraction question that was on there was on a number line. They labeled the number line correctly, but it was tenths. The answer was 6/10, but 6/10 wasn't on there, was an equivalent fraction for 6/10. So of course they chose 7/10.
Yes.
Yep.
You know,
in their mind.
yeah, in their
Yeah.
mind. But they were like, but I know that's not the answer, but I don't see my answer. So, but at that point we hadn't really, we started equivalent fractions, but we hadn't like really got into it. So, but I had some that sat there and, you know, they drew a model and they did tenths, and then they drew another model and did, I think it was 3/5 and drew it and saw that they were the same. I had some that did the multiplication and said times 2. Some did cross multiplication, like some of my students, but a lot of them just picked 7/10. They said, I know it's supposed to be tenths, but I know it's not 7, it's 6, but they still picked 7/10.
Okay, and I had students say exactly the same thing. They had an area of a fractional area, if that they were finding. And they said, well, the answer is 9/24, but 9/24 is not an answer, so I picked 9/25, even though I know it was wrong. And I looked at it, I said, why on God's green earth are you picking an answer that you're going to tell me I know this is wrong?
And they probably do it more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, they flat out told me, I know this answer is wrong, but I'm going to pick it anyway. I said, why are you going to pick an answer that's wrong? Because I don't know what the answer is, so I'm going to pick the wrong answer. And I mean,
Something that we had to combat. We had that's an issue. We had to combat this because I know a lot of times with the methods of going through the answer choice, you automatically crossing out what is wrong. And I understand that some of them may think that all the answers are wrong, but they're not doing it they on their paper. And then what are some other strategies that we can move them to think like, okay, now you know this is wrong. Don't just because it has one part of the fraction is correct, you know. So
I tell them most of ours are going to be equivalent fractions. You're not going to see the fraction you're looking for is not going to be on there. It's an equivalent fraction.